This is one of my favorite stories growing up, and it's something that still holds a lot of value and merit today. It comes from the book of Daniel, chapter 3, starting with verse 1. King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide and set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. He then summoned the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other provincial officials to come to the dedication of the image he had set up. So the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other provincial officials assembled for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and they stood before it. Then the herald loudly proclaimed, "Nations and peoples of every language, this is what you are commanded to do. As soon as you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, you must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace." Therefore, as soon as they heard the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, and all kinds of music, all the nations and peoples of every language fell down and worshiped the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. At this time, some astrologers came forward and denounced the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "May the king live forever. Your majesty has issued a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music must fall down and worship the image of gold, and that whoever does not fall down and worship will be thrown into a blazing furnace. But there are some Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who paid no attention to you, your majesty. They neither serve your gods nor worship the image of gold you have set up." Furious with rage, Nebuchadnezzar summoned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So these men were brought before the king, and Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the image of gold I have set up? Now, when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, if you are ready to fall down and worship the image I made, very good. But if you do not worship it, you will be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to him, "King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar was furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and his attitude toward them changed. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual and commanded some of his strongest soldiers in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace. So these men, wearing their robes, trousers, turbans, and other clothes, were bound and thrown into the blazing furnace. The king's command was so urgent and the furnace so hot that the flames of the fire killed the soldiers who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, firmly tied, fell into the blazing furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar leaped to his feet in amazement and asked his advisors, "Weren't there 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire?" They replied, "Certainly, your majesty." He said, "Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods." Nebuchadnezzar then approached the opening of the blazing furnace and shouted, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out. Come here." So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the fire. And the satraps, prefects, governors, and royal advisors crowded around them. They saw that the fire had not harmed their bodies, not a hair of their head was singed. Their robes were not scorched, and there was no smell of fire on them. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's command and were willing to give up their lives. rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. Therefore, I decree that the people of any nation or language who say anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be cut into pieces and their houses be turned into piles of rubble. For no other God can save in this way. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. May God add his blessing to the reading of his word. Today I want to talk to you about a silent trap. A silent trap that encases all of us. Not only in our churches, but in our lives. And that trap is this. When I was a freshman at Ohio University, I sang in the Wesley Choir, which was part of the Methodist Church. And we had a great time, and we toured during our spring break. And those of you who know me, I'm not really one to follow rules very much. So when we went singing, we sang at churches, and they would make these magnificent meals for us, and then we'd stay overnight at the parishioners' houses. We've done that here, and where we had choirs and people stay overnight. Well, when we went to eat, all of my peers in my choir went to eat with all of you, because, you're the adults, and the adults matter in the church, and it's a matter of how they were raised and stuff. I went and ate with the kids, and I sat at a table just like this with the little chairs, and my knees were up by my ears. And we had the best time. And we laughed, and we were eating food and throwing food and giving a good time and having pie. It was the best time ever. After all the people went home, before we went to the houses, we had a meeting. The choir called a meeting because there was a problem. I was the problem. They said, "What do you think you're doing?" And I said, "I don't know. What did I do?" "Well, when we had lunch, you went and ate with the kids. What are you doing?" We sit with the adults. We're adults. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And by the way, you were laughing in church. What's that all about? Because we don't laugh in church because God doesn't laugh. And I went, "Oh, he's rolling right now, laughing his head off." You see, here are people that were my age, between 18 and 22, and they had already fallen into the trap that church is about formal structure, do's and don'ts. I ate lunch with people of the church that were kids. And I looked goofy because it was fun. Do you think the kids talked about the goofy guy who ate lunch with them? I bet they did. I don't think parents went, "Oh, how dare he? What's he doing?" They're probably like, "Thank goodness someone's paying attention to our kids so we don't have to." But it went well. It's amazing to me how something so simple could be so upsetting. You see, when we become complacent, we don't see the train that's coming down the tracks. We just kind of sit there doing our own thing, making sure things are okay. We don't want to upset anything, and we never see danger coming. So when things happen in our lives, things that cause change or alter things, we're not ready because we've been so lulled to sleep as to what's going on around us. Now, I'm not talking about being crazy or over the top or anything like that. I'm just saying we get stuck in patterns. Patterns aren't bad, but they also limit us. I work for a pizza company. You know which one? Yes, you do. La Rosa's. Doggone it. We have the Coke Freestyle. Do you know what the Coke Freestyle is? It's a machine where you can order 125 different flavors of Coke. You can get vanilla Coke, cherry Coke, strawberry Coke, raspberry Coke, all kinds of stuff. Do you know what people order? Coke. They say it's the best Coke ever. Our servers say, you can put a flavor in it, and people are like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Cut that out. I want what I want. Well, you could try a new flavor and see what happens. Nope, not going to do it. So every time I go out with somebody from somewhere else, I get a different flavor, and they'll go, "When did you get this?" They don't even know it's there. Did you know that most people don't even look at our menus? They go in and they order the same thing they get every time. Now that's nice. We appreciate it. But did you know that there's all this variety sitting around you? That's what life's about, is variety. It's not about doing things the same all the time. Because see, there's a tough trick here. There's a movie called The Usual Suspects. In there, Kevin Spacey, who's up there on the screen, played a person named Kaiser Sose. He was an imaginary villain. And he said this during the movie: the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. You see, when we get comfortable, we're not a threat. When you get stuck in your same ways and you do things the same way all the time, you're easy. I don't have to pay attention to you. And from a spiritual perspective, this is dangerous. It's dangerous for us as individuals. It's dangerous for us as churches. When we don't think that something should be changed in this world, we become complacent. Show of hands, who thinks something in the world should be changed? I'm not going to ask you what. I'm not going to ask your opinion. It'll get really ugly in here. There are things in our lives that change, that we want to see changed. But do you ever have a case of the shoulds? I get a case of the shoulds. You know, I should talk to my neighbor. But I really don't want to. They're not very nice. They're just my neighbor. Do you see how they mow their lawn? They don't even come over far enough. What the heck? Maybe I should tell them. Maybe I should tell them that I'm preaching at church today. No. If I tell them I'm preaching at church, they're going to want to come. And they don't even know me. Our lives are full of shoulds. Shoulds are things we never do. But we want to. But our enemy, I swear, just says, you don't need to do that. Everything's good. Because, see, we like being comfortable. Oh, man, do we like being comfortable. It's funny, every time I've given a message, you don't know how much this wears you out. You really don't. I'll go home, I'll have lunch, and Debbie will say, you going to sleep? I'm like, you bet. Because you just get worn out doing this, which is fine. I don't mind, but I'm just thinking, wow, I need to rest after all of this. And I look forward to that. I think it's wonderful. And now that my kids aren't home, I can nap anytime I want. It's fantastic. We love being empty nesters. We've been empty nesters for a week. It's awesome. We're not bored yet. We like each other. It's fantastic. We've done things. We've gone out to dinner at a place and the kids didn't go, I don't want to go there. We're like, yes, this is great. But what's funny is we're going to the places we wanted to go that we never could before. So I am doing my best to make my wife uncomfortable. Now, being married to me, that's kind of a given. But now it's on a bigger scale. Because see, we don't like discomfort. We're afraid things are going to go bad if we're uncomfortable. We're afraid that if things get out of order, that it's going to be chaos. Honest to goodness, in my lifetime, I have not seen someone's life fall apart because you did something different. It might have felt weird. It might have been a little ooky, but honestly, your life didn't fall apart. And it's amazing what our heads tell us, that chaos will ensue if you do this differently. That's especially true spiritually. I'll be honest. I struggle at times with my faith. There are times where I am dry as a desert, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to get out of it. And it just feels like if I just keep trying, something different will happen. And it never does. It never does. The dryness just keeps going. I know as a church we're going to be doing the 50 days of transformation. And I think it's a wonderful effort for us to be transformed. But listen to me, it's not to be transformed as a church. It's to be transformed in our faith. If we are transformed in our faith, the church can't help but change. If your focus is, well, if we all do this, we get on board, things will go crazy, won't happen. Because you want this. It's time to get uncomfortable because I'll be honest, greatest quote I've ever seen. Second greatest quote. The other great quote's coming up. When you get comfortable, you build walls. When you build walls, you keep people out. You have some people in, which is great, but you have other people who are out. Who here's ever been on an elevator? Okay, all the people who didn't raise your hands, really? Not telling you. Okay. I went to one of the many conferences I go to for HR, and during that year, we were up for the top award for HR chapters. And our state director, Andrea, got all these cool shirts and jackets and stuff, but they didn't really go well with slacks, so we wore jeans. I know, talking about jeans in church, scary, but let's go with me. I was riding in the elevator, and everybody at the conference, these are the people who are in my profession, HR people who are supposed to be friendly with who? People, you'd think. We're in the elevator, there's 4 of us, 3 of them are standing against the wall looking at the numbers because that's what you do in an elevator. And I was in there, in my jeans, and I turned around and said, "Hi, how are you?" They're like, "Shh, elevator, going down, could die, shut up." And they went a lot of this, there was a lot of this. And they were talking about my jeans. And I went, huh. Now, I had a name tag on just like they did. It looked similar to them. They would have had to assume I was in the same thing. But they didn't do anything. So we were up on the 10th or 12th floor, and we got down to the lobby, and when the doors opened, I turned around and stood in front of the door. It got really uncomfortable really quick. And I said, "Hi, how are you?" And they said, I go, "Look, I want you to know something. I'm in human resources just like you, and just because you judged me this entire ride because I'm wearing jeans and you're not, I really wish you'd get out of my profession. Have a great day. I'll make sure to say hi to you the rest of the week." And off I went. The rest of the week I'd see him, I'd be like, "Hey, how you doing?" "Jeans." They're like, "Oh." It was horrible that something so simple and so slight built a wall between the same people that are doing the same thing to reach people. The walls we build are that simple. But the walls we build keep people away from Christ and not with him. You have to remember that only dead fish go with the flow. And that's true. It's hard to swim upstream. It really is. Now I'm going to show you a video here. And this video is something that was given to me by one of my friends that I serve on the state HR council with. And she says, "When I saw this video, I thought of you." Now when you get done with the video, you can tell me which person I am in the video. But bear with me. This is going to be different, but I think you'll like it.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore. It's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut, and it's not 2 nuts. 3 is a crowd, and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers, because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is over-glorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
All right, so which person was I in the video? The guy dancing with his shirt off. Because I hate even talking about myself. I know I'm different. I know I'm odd. I know I stand out. And I don't care. The thing that's great about the guy on the hill is that he was willing to be the guy. He was going to dance no matter what. If no one would have showed up, he still would have been dancing. We sang that hymn just before the sermon, The Lord of the Dance, which I told you was one of my favorites. See, in churches, we're worried because we want to have that one person to follow. We look to the pastor, or we look to someone who's a leader within the church, or someone who's willing to stand up and stand out. And we go, boy, if they're in charge, I'll get around that person. We already have somebody who's that dancing guy on the hill. And that's Christ. We are supposed to be the first followers and the second followers and change a movement. Because see, when Christ talked in the Bible about being a light on the hill in a world of darkness, that hasn't changed. The world is still very dark. And we have to be that light. We keep waiting for someone else to be that person who will start the dance. The dance is already going on. We just need to join it. This year at the annual conference for HR, I got to speak at what they call as a mega session at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday in Las Vegas. I thought I'd have 5 people because it's 7 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday in Las Vegas. There were 1,000 people that came to that event. I could not believe it. I was floored by it. I was going to wear it today, but I thought it'd be too far. I have a tie-dye dress shirt, and I love it. And I wore it, and people are like, oh, what is he doing? What's going on? We had the greatest time, and afterward there were lines of people. I was so floored. There was a line over here and a line over here, and I said hi to them, and they didn't ask any questions about the presentation. They just wanted to say, I loved hearing you talk about being positive, encouraging, and loving what I do. I've missed that, and I needed that. Light in the darkness. That's who we're called to be. But there's some steps you have to take in order to do that. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, if you remember the scripture just a few minutes ago, said, even if we do not make it, we will not worship you. So here are 3 men in a country who wasn't their own, who were willing to put their lives on the line to say, our faith in our God will not be faltered. We will go to our death. You cannot change that. And you saw the story. The fourth person came in, the angel, and they came out unscathed. And Nebuchadnezzar declared that the people of Babylon shall worship the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. The king, who was himself a god, a self-proclaimed god, said, we will worship this other god. Because they did this. There's three things I need you to do in order to make this happen. It's time to be uncomfortable. I love the story that Gail told me earlier about how to keep your brain fresh. Okay? And what it is, in your head, which hand do you use to brush your teeth? Think about it. Okay? The next time you brush your teeth, use the other hand. You can't do it. You'll be like, you'll stick it in your ear and all kinds of stuff. You go all over. Being uncomfortable is that simple. Take something that's a pattern in your life and change it just a bit and make it uncomfortable, and you'll see things in a whole different way. I remember when the construction was happening here on 42 up by the U-Haul, and we drive down Cincinnati or Dayton Road to come to church, and I'm driving along going to church, gonna be great. Cones, dang it, forgot about these. And then I had to go, hold with me, a whole 2 minutes out of my way to get to church. The first thing I did was come and say, gee, it's great to see you all. No, I said, those stinking cones made me go a different direction. I didn't like that at all. You know, I saw different places I hadn't seen in a long time. It made me uncomfortable, but I still got here. The more things you can do on a regular basis just to keep things fresh will make things amazing. I'm telling you they will. The second thing is this. Did you know that believing in Christ, you were given a life to live and a life to live abundantly? Abundantly, not complacently. You're supposed to gush forward. I found an old song that we sang when I was little, back in Lucky, Ohio, in Sunday school, called Spring Up, Oh Well. Do you know this one? It says, I've got a river of life flowing out of me, makes the lame to walk and the blind to see, opens prison doors, sets the captives free. I've got a river of life flowing out of me. Spring up, oh well, within my soul. Spring up, oh well, and make me whole. Spring up, oh well, and give to me that life abundantly. When you aren't having an abundant life and things are too comfortable, you need to get out because that's what you are promised. You don't have to do anything for this. By believing in Christ and following him, he can't wait to work through you. He can't wait to pour through you. And when that river of life pours through you, it will touch other people. A few weeks ago, we said we weren't going to use the word evangelism here because it scares people. I'll be honest, that bothered me. We were put on this earth for other people. That's why we exist. Just like I told during the children's sermon, we're that rock that makes that splash in someone's life. We're the one that's supposed to be that river of life so they go, oh, I want that. It's what we're called to do. And it starts like this. I want you to try this. Ready? Everybody smile. I want to see your teeth. Turn to the person next to you and go, I hate you. You can't do it. You start laughing. We think change and all this thing is, I have to be the person who preaches, or I need to be the person who does this, or I need to be the person who's up front. Do you know how many people don't smile? It's just like this slide. Do you know how many people don't get said hi to every day? Do you know how many times you go to Walmart and don't greet the greeter? Because the greeter's there to greet you, and they really don't want to greet you because they're getting paid whatever, and you're there to get the cereal. Why wouldn't you go up to her and go, hi, Vera, how are you? It'll freak her out. I'm telling you. You're like, wait a minute, what's going on? Well, I thought I'd greet the greeter. It's funny, we have to have a greeting ministry here instead of greeting people on each other by ourselves. We have to structure it because it takes so much for us to say hi. It's time to change that. A smile doesn't cost you anything. Doesn't hurt. It's great. A smile could lead to a whole bunch of things. A smile could lead to, hey, Aileen, how you doing? And then stay there and see what she's doing. Don't do the pass by. A lot of us do that, you know that? We really don't care how we're doing. We just say hi to each other. Hi, Bobby, how are you? Don't tell me, I got to go. Bobby may tell you something that's on her heart that she needed somebody to touch in her life at that time. You can make people uncomfortable by doing what's natural. Saying hi to them, listening to them, and caring about what they say is going on in their lives. Don't allow them to say they're fine. Ask them what's really going on, and then be there for them. It might be something you can pray about. It might be something you can laugh about. It might be something you can run around about. It's time for us to pay attention to the people in our lives. God puts people in your lives every day. Every day. And we're so doggone busy to get past them, to do the things that we're used to stay in our comfort zone, that we're missing the people who need Christ who are standing right next to us. Give them a smile, say hello, and see what happens. It's time for us to give people a different view. As Christians, we have a different view on life. I hope it's a great one. I know for me it is. We don't see the world as a bunch of gray. We see the color and the joy. This morning I took a picture of the sunrise coming up over the steeple. The sky was pink and orange and blue. It was beautiful. I sent it out to my friends and I said, "Good Sunday." None of my friends on my text go to church. Not one. So I took a picture of the sunrise with a steeple in it. Different view. The different view we have on life is the different view we should share with others. Don't be ashamed of who you are, because Christ has you in his hands. He wants to help you be that different view in other people's lives. You all know people in your lives today that are struggling with a myriad of things. Something that may be simple to you may be devastating to somebody else. And they are looking for that person to come into their lives and be that different view that helps them through what they're facing. If you're happy and you say, "I can't talk to Barb because if she's not happy, I can't do that," be happy. Gush all over her. It'd be fun. Or whoever that is. You shouldn't walk away from this because it's called what you were called to do, because this is how God sees you. God knows that you're amazing. You're not something less or something not so good or not quite good enough, or I can't do this. God sees you as amazing because you are his creation. No questions. This is how he sees you and how he expects you to be with others. Because if he sees you as being amazing, he wants you to be that amazing fact in someone else's life. So it's time for you to start doing it. No more shoulds. No more "I will next Sunday." Or no more "I will sorta kinda." It's time for us to be different. It's time for us to break that trap and be the light in the world that Christ called us to be.